Hi, welcome back to another Archicad speed modeling tutorial by ASM Techbase. My name is Carsten MD. And if you're keen to see what else I'm up to, just check my website. I've got the tutorials much better categorized there. I've got courses, materials, and blogs to read through. Alright, let's look at the setup first I've got for this tutorial. I got some reference images. Let's zoom in. So that's the Shanghai Tower. And you can see if you zoom in, there's waves in there, but the waves are not too big, so they're not going really a lot outside and inside. Okay, they're just slightly, so I'll show you in a moment. It's quite important that we're not going overboard. Then the other bit is there's a nice photo from the actual section of those beams coming down the facade, and you can see they vary. You know, they're different sections for different sort of beams coming down the facade. So we will create a couple of different ones. Then I found online, let me go over here, I found online a floor plan. So you can zoom in a little bit. So that gave me the shape of the Shanghai Tower, and also if you zoom in further, actually it gave me a good idea of where the beams or the columns, whatever you call them, go down the facade and the distance of them. Okay, so that's what I have here. By the way, if you notice and followed some of my tutorials, those type of images or drawings I always put into the worksheet, and you know, because it's easier. So this, you can just leave it here, and if I go back to my normal drawing and I can go now floor plan, right click, and I can just say show as a trace reference. So it's coming up in here, and you noticed my AHD disappeared because I had this as my reference. Have a look, show as reference, which is the road and the floor of the ground floor. I do this on purpose in the tutorial because, see, I can't select them, okay? Because otherwise sometimes it's a bit annoying to, if you work around and they keep selecting. So it's a little hint if you want to do that with your own work. Now in 3D, that's what I've got for now. I've got just simple floor plans, I got the glass, and I got some columns going up. If you look at the actually stories, very simple. The ground floor is 6 meters high, and then just every other floor is 700 going up to 31. Okay, so that's the setup. If you go back now, let's start with the actual distance of those facade. Let's call them column for this tutorial, going outside down the facade. So I'm going to my floor plan and I show a trace reference, and to do this bit more exact, what I did is I'm going to add a hotspot. Let me go here, zoom in, and you know, just roughly in the middle I add this hotspot there. Now this hotspot I like to go all the way around the facade with the same distance at all times. So I'm selecting this, and we will actually now say increment and spread. Choose this, drag, but it's important you pick a path before input, and obviously it has to rotate to the path. So I'm clicking OK. With the cursor you go there, and you can see it will find the path. So you click once, okay, this is the path, then zoom in a bit, and you have to click exactly where the hotspot is. And I click again, that's the second click, and now it asks for the distance. So I just go roughly there and click again. So now if I keep going around this slab, you can see it adds the same distance, it adds those hotspots, and it's actually quite good to work like this. You will see in a moment when we do those columns. All right, one more. Okay. Whoops, see, that happens sometimes. Gotta be careful. You gotta go outside all the way around, zoom in and stay on the left here, and have a look when the last hotspot comes in. Okay, click again. Now you can see obviously it will not fit exactly. So this distance here doesn't fit. So what we do is now this is selected, the hotspot. You see they're all still selected because we just created them. You can now go and count them very easy. Just click and edit selection set, and because they're still selected, you can see, so it's 94 hotspots. So I cancel this out, I undo this step, this is still selected, and we're going back in here, and this time I use distribute -1, and copies I put in 94. Same thing down here, and we click again. So if I go and select this now, oops, that's my mistake. You have to do, obviously do the path first. So let's go down here, take the path, go to the hotspot, click again. You can see now how it obviously distributes them. So if I go now around, in theory it should, you know, be very similar to the distance I have in between. So let's have a look. I go all the way to this hotspot here. See, got to finish up there. How good is that? See, that's not bad. Obviously not exactly, but for this tutorial, I like to have this the same distance, and I think that looks pretty good. So that's a nice way to actually create the same distance all the way around, starting with just one hotspot. It could be a column, it could be some sort of another object, but that's a nice little tip already. Now deselect, and if I turn this off, that's the way it looks now. Now I did already add some columns. You saw when I got into 3D, you know, those columns, I turned them off. So I'm going to work in here, and they're already added, so I don't waste your time. Very simple, you just add a column obviously. So if I go back to my working combination layer, those are the columns, which I obviously did exactly the same. I clicked a column in here, selected the column, and I did again spread it along the same distance along a path. All right, so that's the setup. Let's go now to our elevation. The first elevation we got here is A1, so I want to have a look this way, and we have a quick look what I've got so far. Okay, so this is the elevation, and you see I used a very simple, let me open the document, spline to create our first column down the facade. Okay, so all I did is just, you know, roughly, you just go down here like this, you know, do them randomly, and you click, and at the bottom a little bit different to the Shanghai Tower. I thought, oh look, let's just go and create a little bit of an overhang. Okay, now I did this on purpose. You can see way too far away, as I mentioned before. Let me go back. It's quite important actually if you want to replicate this and get the same sort of shadow effect. They are very slightly, you see this is pretty much one of the deepest going in, and if I look around here, that's almost the furthest it goes out. So if I go back to my A1, you can see, you know, even this, if I measure this, you know, that's almost a meter already. So it doesn't need much to create this effect. So this one here, way too big. So I delete this now, and I keep my first spline I created. Now all you have to do is, let me take this, and I drag a copy, and I put this over here, because what I want to do is, I want to do, well, 5, 6, 7 different sections. Okay, let's go back here. This is the section right here. So if I go to my level 1, let me go to the floor plan again, you can see that these are slightly different. Okay, you go over here. So I thought I'd create a couple of different ones. Now what we do is we need to create them as a profile. Now before we continue, please keep subscribing to this channel and make sure you hit the bell so you get all the latest tutorials. And if you really like a tutorial, please click the like button under this video, because this will help the channel to rank higher so other Archicad users can enjoy a free tutorial too. So let me go to the profiler, and I created my very first metal profile. Here I click on it, and let's edit this. And all I did is pretty much I used my so I used the fill and drew those shapes. Now obviously the first shape I did, I went to the floor plan, and all you do is you take the fill, you know, you zoom in, and you just draw. This is just an example quickly, you know, like this. Okay, so that's what I did. So I did copy this, I went into edit here, and I pasted this in. Let me paste, oh, I didn't copy that. Let me copy and paste this. So I got this, copy, you go back here, and we paste this in. So that's all I did, center, yes, this is good. And now you got the shape. So what I did is I just obviously adjusted a little bit the, the shape to get actually this sort of hole in there, and I added a different fill to give actually a different material. That means we can apply different materials for this column coming down the facade. Now, to make this easy, I'll show you. So you take this and you copy and paste so it falls in the same space. You take one of those, and what you can do is you can just take this, go there, and give it a distance. As example, very simple. This one, so you take this and now you hold spacebar down and you create a hole. Okay, you can deselect. So that means you have the exact same distance here, here, and here. Obviously, you can see I have to still adjust it, meaning you just have to, as example, add one here, and you just go all the way back here to get rid of what you don't need. So let me just do this again. There, and you go there. So they're now gone. Okay, so I got this, and this one here, of course, simple. You just draw some other ones. This is just an example to see what I did roughly. And we go there. There we go, very roughly. Okay, so obviously got to do it more accurate, but this will then be my first metal profile, which will look similar to this one. Okay, and all I did is I did 7 of those. Now, before I keep going, let me delete this. It's important that you apply a material to each of the fill. Make sure the fills are different. That's a 50% fill, that's 100% fill. And because it's happening, if you have the same fill, this is the same fill, and this is the same fill, this, as soon as it's save, the fill will actually combine, and that means you will have then suddenly the same material, and you don't want that. So that's why having the different fill types. Okay, so I click on this, and you can see I added metal 1 material, and on this one I put that on metal 8. So if I go to the other ones as example, number 2, don't need to save this. See, that's another one. This one I kept the same, metal 8 all the time, but this one has metal 2. And you noticed I made them different colors. Okay, if you have watched my tutorials, I always work like that. Different colors, much easier to see which material is which if you go into 3D, because usually we take this one anyway into a rendering software. But if you do a render in Archicad, that's fine. You just have to adjust the render color after. Okay, great. So I get out of here and delete this, don't really need that anymore. And I'm going down to my floor plan. Great. So the next step is actually we take this one here and we copy this. But what you can do is, before we do this, you can do a couple more different ones. So remember I made a copy here, and what I can do is now I can just move this, right? So you move this slightly and make them a tiny bit different. Make sure down here, gotta be careful, it can't go into the facade. Okay, so you go all through those steps here. You can even move it up a bit, go like this. So really just very simple and slide. You see I really moved them slightly. They're not big movements. Keep that in mind again. And you go all the way up like this. Maybe leave this one the same. And we go a bit down. There we go. There, and maybe move this over there. Okay, so you got this. So if I take this now and drag another copy, that will be different. Okay, looks slightly different. Looks pretty straight, but that's okay. And the next one you maybe do has a little bit more, tiny bit more, like this. Obviously make a copy of it. All right, I created 7 splines now, and what we do is we copy them and we paste them into our floor plan, which is on level 1. Just paste and we just move it over here. It doesn't really matter where they go. So we got those 7 splines, and just as a reminder, we got the 7 profiles, 1 to 7. Okay. What I do is now I actually use, oh, I forgot to tell you actually, I need to save the profiles. There we go. Got to make sure you save them as a beam. Okay. Yeah, I missed that before. It's very important. So save them as a beam so they're accessible in the beam as a profile. So let's get out of this and I go into my beam. What I do is now we go to segments, and usually, you know, you're not on a profile. That's what you get. You have a basic settings of your beam, round beam, but I want obviously use a profile. So I created a profile 1 to 7 and we take the first one. Okay, so that's my first profile, and I will use this now to go along this spline. Important is if you don't add those, because you can see it changes the color. So just leave those ones off to keep the color we have chosen in the profile. Okay, I put them on beams, that's fine. Click OK. And all we do is now we actually space click. Let's do a space click on the first one. Okay, and let's see how that looks in 3D. Okay, so that's our first facade column coming down just perfectly like that. And you can see it's actually quite good. It looks very random, and we can apply this soon to the facade. Okay, so that's my first one, and all you have to do is now you go back into the beam, and instead of profile 1 you choose profile 2. See, different profile. Okay, and again you just space click and it will draw the beams very nice and smoothly along the spline you created. Now select those 2 and we have a look in 3D, and as you can see different color, but the front is the same color all the time, and you got 2 different ones already. Quite easy actually when you do the setup right and get all those profiles going. Okay, let's have a look. They're all done. Great, beautiful. See all the different colors, perfect, and maybe different randomness. Great, next step is, but before I keep going with the next step, actually I like to make sure, because sometimes your magic wand tool is not correctly set. So let me quickly, I'll just delete one to show you what I mean, because you maybe do the tutorial, repeat all this yourself, and suddenly you space click and it doesn't really go nicely along the spline. So that what I mean is with the magic wand setting is, depending on the setting here, that's how it goes along the spline. I got best match, but let's just say you got something different. Let's make this 1 meter as example, linear segments, and I click space click, zoom in, and you know, it's funny, it still is actually quite good. Let me do this even worse so I can show you what I mean. Let's make this 5. Okay, and we space click again. Yeah, there you go. See, that's what I mean. So now suddenly it's, yeah, look, this one that I want to show you this. This suddenly doesn't do the nice smooth curve along the spline. So if you do a space click and this happens, make sure you go to your magic wand settings and change it here. Usually best match, and you can, you know, probably go to 50 or 100 or 200 up here, and it still will work fine as long as you have the best match setting there. Great, so I think that was quite important to do. Let me go a couple of undo steps now. All right, great, so I've got all those. I showed you them in 3D before. Now, how do I get them onto the facade? We have to now, unfortunately I have to say, convert them to a morph. I would love to just rotate the beam up, but it doesn't work. I tried and I had another think what else I could use, which tool to do just like that and rotate them up, but there is no other tool unfortunately than the morph tool that does this. So I have to select the beams here, right? They're still beams, and you have to just convert them to a morph. All right, let me just do one for now. So this is a morph now, and I'll move them closer to the section here. Let me drag this. There we go. And I do open section A2. Okay, that's section A2. Now what you can do is, because it's a morph element now in the section, I can rotate it. Make sure you don't have the group suspended, otherwise it won't rotate all the pieces. And all you do is for now, you just pretty much, select, and we rotate this. It doesn't rotate because I can see, yes, I selected the beam. Not very good, is it? So, because my section reaches all the way over there. Let me have a look. Yeah, it's an unlimited section. See, let me limit the section. There you go. So not reaching this anymore. So if I go back to A2, I should be able to see only the morph pieces. Oh, that's where they are. Great. So now we can go and zoom in here and you rotate them. Go there, to there, to there. Okay, back to my drawing. And this is where the piece is, and actually it's, you know, let's have a quick look in 3D, get a frame around it, and we'll see what we got so far. There you go. So we got our first nice column, which will come down the facade. Now you do this with all 7 of them, of course, and then we start adding them around. So let me do that quickly. Okay, I created all 7 of them, so let's have a quick look. In 3D, there you go. So that's the 7 different ones now, and we all have the different colors. By the way, you notice what I did is, let me go back to 2D. For me, I usually, when I model, I color code them too. So that means color coding in floor plan. You see, this is all black, this is a red pen, green pen, and so on. So all you do is make sure you select when you converted the morph and just apply a different pen. Okay, this is all black pen I used, uncut line, and if as example go to the pink one here, I just changed it to a pink pen. See, and this will actually match also the colors I have in material. So you can see the pink pen as example. See, it's the pink pen, but it's also a pinkish color which I have here in my material. If we go, just have a quick look on the metal. Where do I have metal? There you go, it's a bit pinkish. Okay, so that's, again, this is just the way I work. It's easier for me to keep track of what I'm doing, because if I now want to copy them around here, I can then say, see how many yellow ones as example I do have, and I copy them around, how many red ones, just to give me an idea of the randomness I want to achieve. It's much easier than having it all of the pen as example in black. It's very hard to remember which one is which. Okay, so that's a little tip again, and it's just very helpful working like this. Now obviously it's very simple. We drag one of those. Let me drag the first one over here. Just drag it a bit closer. So what you want to do is we drag this from the middle here to our hotspot. There you go, and make sure you rotate it so it's perpendicular to your facade. Okay, now what you have to do is you do with all of them and just, you know, add them to the hotspot locations. Now what you can do as an example to speed it up a little bit, you know, there's obviously a randomness to it, but you can speed it up a tiny bit. I give you here a tip. So let me, this is selected, let me drag this and we keep it as increment and spread, pick path and rotate the path. So what you can do is you take this one here, right? Obviously the path, go there, and let me just pick this one. All right, so it will go along here and create the black ones. Whoops, zoom out a bit. Okay. So I got black ones. You can see what I mean. It's already a little bit faster because what I can do is now do the next one. All right, let me take the green one. We go over here. And of course, you will see it. Obviously, I don't really want those screens close together, so I might just well stop here. Okay, and you can see already what happens. Sometimes they actually are on the same one. So all you do is you take this one and you can actually drag it or even delete it. You know, you could drag it just there as example. So you have one there, you know, straighten it up. What I'm getting at is, see this one is again, you just delete this one. So instead of moving this one, then a copy over here, then you have to rotate it again. Copy there, you have to rotate it again. It does speed up a little bit. Okay, that's the way it looks now. If I copy them all around, and you can see they're pretty random, and I think this will look great. So let's have a look if I frame them with the Marquee tool, and we see that in 3D. Okay, so that's what we got here. And I think it looks pretty cool. Let me move around. Yeah, that's cool. And also it is actually quite random. I'm too low, I'm too low. I gotta go up, gotta go up. There we go. And we really want to look at the randomness. Okay, there we go. That's pretty good actually. Look at this. I really like it. Now we're not quite finished. Now this looks good. You can see you can apply different materials. Okay, and as you might notice at the very start of the video, I had some waves down here too. So you can see they're random. Well, not randomly, but they are taken up and taken down. And it makes actually quite a good effect even at the top. Look, so it looks nice. See on the other side, have a quick look. They're all still the same height. Looks good too, but I actually quite like this. So it's a bit of a wave in there. See, so this makes it actually quite nice. This one, great over here. And all I did is very simple. You go down here, you just select the individual column coming down, and all I did is I elevated it by 500 mil as example. So you do elevate by 500, the next one by a meter, then 1/500, 2, 2.5, and then you go down again, you elevate only by 2 meters, 1.5, and so on. And that's very easy to give some sort of a consistent wave. See, if you look at this, looks actually quite nice. Okay, so that was it for today's tutorial, and as always, I hope to see you back soon. Bye for now.